It was a period when young English gentlemen travelled across Europe in search of adventure, culture, and society. Aubrey, a spirited and curious man, found himself drawn into the company of Lord Ruthven, a strikingly elegant and enigmatic figure whose presence was impossible to ignore. From the moment they met, Aubrey was captivated by Ruthven's charm, wit, and sophistication, though there lingered in his manner a shadow of something darker, an inexplicable unease that Aubrey could not fully define. As they travelled together, Aubrey observed Ruthven's extraordinary ability to command attention and admiration wherever he went. Yet beneath the polished exterior lay an unsettling detachment from the lives of those around him. Rumors whispered in taverns and salons hinted at mysterious misfortunes surrounding Ruthven, strange disappearances, and the occasional death of those who had crossed his path. Aubrey, enthralled by the nobility and mystery of his companion, chose to overlook these ominous signs, unable to resist the magnetic pull of Ruthven's company. Their journeys took them through the picturesque countryside and bustling cities of Europe, each place revealing more of Ruthven's complex nature. His charm drew friends and allies easily, but there was always a lingering coldness, a subtle sense of danger that seemed to follow him. At times, Aubrey noticed that Ruthven thrived in the presence of vulnerability and sorrow, appearing to feed off the attention and admiration of those who were fascinated by him. In Rome, the full extent of Ruthven's sinister influence began to show. Aubrey heard whispers of noblewomen and young men whose lives had been tragically altered after encounters with Lord Ruthven. Despite these warnings, Aubrey remained close to him, compelled by a mix of fear, fascination, and loyalty. Ruthven's ability to navigate social circles with effortless charm, while leaving a trail of ruin behind, unsettled Aubrey deeply. The young gentleman slowly. Aubrey returned to England, hoping that distance would free him from the troubling influence of Lord Ruthven, yet fate proved relentless. Ruthven appeared again, seamlessly entering English society with the same magnetic charm and effortless elegance that had enthralled Aubrey across Europe. He moved among the nobility, captivating all with his sophistication, while leaving subtle traces of fear and unease behind him. Aubrey, now acutely aware of Ruthven's dark nature, struggled to warn others, but the allure of the young nobleman blinded many to the danger he represented. It was during this period that Ruthven set his sights on a young woman named Ianthe. Innocent and trusting, she was unprepared for the calculated seduction and influence of Lord Ruthven. He pursued her with an artful mixture of charm and insinuation, embedding himself into her life until her thoughts and decisions were subtly but completely guided by his will. Aubrey watched in horror as Ruthven's predation became apparent, yet he felt powerless to intervene directly. The society around them admired Ruthven, oblivious to the ruin he caused, and Ianthe's fate seemed sealed by the very elegance that made him irresistible. The tragedy of Ianthe revealed Ruthven's true nature. He was no mere aristocrat or social manipulator. He thrived on the vitality and innocence of others, leaving devastation in his wake while maintaining the appearance of refinement. Aubrey's fascination with him was now mingled with fear, a recognition that Ruthven's power was extraordinary, almost otherworldly. Each encounter with him reinforced the sense that conventional morality and law could not restrain such a being. Ruthven operated above consequence, untouched by grief or guilt, and seemingly immune to the dangers that might befall an ordinary man. Desperate to confront the truth, Aubrey attempted to challenge Ruthven's influence directly. He sought to warn those around him and to prevent further tragedy, yet Ruthven Despite the growing horror and dread that accompanied his thoughts of Lord Ruthven, Aubrey found himself unable to sever the connection entirely. Compelled by a mixture of fear, fascination, and a sense of moral duty, he followed Ruthven across Europe, determined to witness the truth of his actions and, if possible, prevent further harm. Yet wherever Ruthven went, the pattern repeated itself. He charmed, manipulated, and destroyed, leaving despair and ruin behind while maintaining the polished veneer of an elegant nobleman. Aubrey gradually recognized that Ruthven's influence was unnatural, a force that preyed upon life and vitality, but still he felt powerless to resist. In a quiet, remote town, Aubrey witnessed Ruthven's malevolence at its most chilling. Families were left grieving, reputations were ruined, and young lives ended abruptly and mysteriously. Ruthven moved among them with his usual grace and charm, appearing untouchable, as if the consequences that destroyed others had no power over him. The horror of seeing such destruction inflicted without remorse, coupled with the societal blindness to his deeds, intensified Aubrey's inner torment. He understood that confronting Ruthven with ordinary means, social pressure, reason, or law, was futile. Ruthven operated on a plane beyond human reckoning, untethered from morality or consequence. Aubrey's struggle became increasingly psychological. He wrestled with fear, fascination, and moral obligation, each encounter with Ruthven leaving him more unsettled and obsessed. The young man began to see that Ruthven derived strength from secrecy and manipulation, feeding on the ignorance and admiration of those around him. Aubrey's position was precarious. He alone seemed aware of Ruthven's true nature, yet he lacked the power to protect the innocent or stop the trail of destruction. Every moment spent in Ruthven's presence reinforced the young gentleman's realization that he was dealing with something far beyond human The final phase of Aubrey's ordeal with Lord Ruthven brought him face to face with the full consequences of the vampire's influence. Ruthven's power had spread through society like a silent contagion, leaving despair and suspicion in his wake. Aubrey's earlier attempts to warn others or to confront him directly had failed, and he now realized that the danger was inescapable. Ruthven could move freely, unnoticed and unchallenged, because his menace was hidden behind charm and sophistication. The young man's anxiety grew, knowing that every person Ruthven encountered was at risk of falling victim to his subtle, predatory manipulation. Eventually, Aubrey learned of Ruthven's final, most audacious scheme. In a town far from England, Ruthven had taken a new interest in a wealthy and virtuous woman whose family held influence in the region. Using his characteristic combination of allure, intellect, and insidious persuasion, he ensnared her trust and affection, gradually exerting control over her life. Aubrey, driven by both moral duty and personal dread, sought to intervene. Yet, as always, Ruthven anticipated every move, countering with such subtlety that Aubrey's warnings were dismissed or ignored, leaving him frustrated and increasingly aware of his own limitations. The culmination of Ruthven's predatory existence came when he attempted to secure his escape from the consequences of human law and morality. His actions, while cloaked in civility, left a trail of suffering, and Aubrey finally saw that Ruthven's influence extended beyond the immediate victims. He corrupted the very society that admired him, spreading fear, jealousy, and grief with every interaction. Aubrey observed, with both horror and fascination, how Ruthven remained untouchable, a creature whose power derived from the combination of charm, cunning, and an almost supernatural ability to manipulate life and death. In the end, Aubrey's role was that of witness, recorder, and survivor. He had followed R.